Hi, I'm Jason, a registered nurse here in Indiana. I want to talk to you about the vaccine a little bit, specifically coronavirus. So, let me start off by saying that if you've had the Pfizer, both doses, and the Moderna, both doses, you are eligible to receive the booster. Generally, they want you to wait about 6 months because that's kind of when our immune system that has been built up from the vaccine begins to wane, to wear off a little bit. If you're immunocompromised, just talk to your healthcare provider and decide what's best for you. But to kind of help with understanding the vaccine, it's probably best first to talk about what our body does to help keep us safe when we come in contact with germs. So, again, I'm going to talk about specifically viral germs like the coronavirus. So, there are two things that really determine how sick you get. First is how many viruses you come in contact with. If someone sneezes in the room and they release one virus, okay, which is not likely, but if they released one and it comes in contact with me and it gets inside my body only has to fight one virus, and guess what, folks? It can do that pretty easily. So I may be asymptomatic. I'm still corona positive. I'm still COVID-19 positive because I do have it in my body, but I didn't even know it. I'm asymptomatic. If someone sneezes and 100 come in contact with my nose, it's a little harder for my body to fight it off. And when our immune system works, it makes tissues inflamed. It gives us a fever. We have respiratory issues, all those things that you're familiar with. But if I come in contact with 100, my body has to work a little harder to make that happen. In the meantime, I feel bad. So my symptoms are maybe in the moderate range. If someone coughs up 1 million coronaviruses, then my body has a lot to work to do. When a germ like a virus comes in contact with us, it takes days, sometimes weeks, for our immune system to build up. So in this time frame, not only are we experiencing symptoms, but those viruses that have come in contact with us are multiplying and they're attacking our body. And at this point, they're damaging cells, maybe damaging things to the point where you'll never recover from it. In that time frame, while it's damaging cells, it is also causing symptoms. So, our bloodstream has red blood cells, which kind of carry the oxygen around, has hemoglobin, all that stuff. But the thing we want to worry about as far as immunity are the white blood cells. It's primarily made up of three things: macrophages, B lymphocytes, and T lymphocytes. You guys have probably heard those terms before. A macrophage gobbles up germs, and when it does something special. It leaves behind an antigen. And that the reason why it does that is so that our B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes have something to work with and understand what it needs to do to fight this virus. B lymphocytes actually attack germs. It attacks those antigens left behind. And the T lymphocytes kind of attack the cells that have been infected with the germs. Now, when you come in contact with a virus or you get a vaccine, what our body does is it develops kind of an army to help fight that. It, recognizes the virus, understands how best to kill it, so to speak. And then those B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes are left behind and kind of on standby so that when we come in contact with it again, our body immediately fights it. That's really all a vaccine does. Some people say that this isn't a vaccine. Well, I got news for you. It is a vaccine. It's hard to believe that anyone would think differently. A vaccine is simply something that stimulates your immune system. That's always been the definition of it. It's just that we've had to change the definition over the years a little bit because as we modernize, just like a phone. If I looked up the definition of a phone in 1930, it would probably describe something like something you hold up to your ear and a little piece that you do, and you have to get connected to an operator. And then if I looked up the definition in the 60s or 70s, it would probably talk about this receiver that, that you hold up to your ear, and this rotary or maybe a button push thing, no operator involved. Skip to the 90s, and we've got wireless phones, with buttons that you can walk around, no wire connected. Now we have cell phones. They're all phones, folks. It's just development. We develop over time, and that's what we do. And vaccines will continue to grow as we become more educated. So, when we get infected, we have symptoms. If I get infected with just one or two, I may be asymptomatic. I get infected with 100, I might have mild symptoms. If I get infected with 1,000,000, I may have severe symptoms, maybe even causing long-lasting health effects and death. Our immune system varies from person to person. My immune system is not identical to yours. And with that said, if you have a great immune system and you come in contact with the coronavirus, you may have no symptoms or mild symptoms. If you have a horrible immune system and it doesn't do a good job of protecting you, then you're probably going to have moderate or severe symptoms, maybe even death. So those two things determine how sick you get. What a vaccine does is it imitates an infection. It doesn't give you the infection. They never have. I know people sometimes believe that they had the flu when they got a flu vaccine, and I understand it because you didn't feel well. You were sick. I get it. But that was your body building up an immune system and responding to something that it thought was an infection. And so that's what vaccines are supposed to do. They're supposed to stimulate your body to do something, to develop a fever, to develop aches and pains, to feel your immune system working. Of course, there's people who are allergic, and that's another thing. But with the coronavirus, this vaccine uses that mRNA to help our B and T lymphocytes develop a plan so that if we come in contact with it. So, with natural immunity, you would, if you're in contact with the coronavirus and you get COVID-19, you are going to have natural immunity. Okay, our body will develop that plan just like it does with a vaccine. But here's the issue: if you come in contact with a lot of coronaviruses, or if your immune system isn't as great, then you may have moderate to severe symptoms, which again may cause life-altering health issues or possibly death. And let me just say that as we've gone through this pandemic, many of us have been exposed to the coronavirus. Maybe we only got exposed to a few, maybe we got exposed to millions, and our symptoms were all different. But I've had so many people, and this just senseless deaths. It really hurts me from the core to even think about it. But there's so many people who get on social media and brag about, well, I've never had COVID-19. I believe this is all conspiracy. I don't believe that this vaccine is a vaccine or that it works. I understand that there's a lot of information. There's a lot. And some of it is very convincing. There are billions and billions of dollars being made on videos and actors and actresses to convince you not to get the vaccine. It's a billion-dollar industry, because what they depend on is most of these companies want to offer you some nutritional things that help protect you against the virus. Okay? Why aren't healthcare workers Sorry about that, I had a glitch. Why aren't healthcare workers talking about developing your natural immunity? We all want you to develop natural immunity to things. We want you to be healthy. We want you to eat right, be healthy, and hopefully, if you come in contact with the coronavirus, your immune system is good to go. But again, it's going to take a few days to several weeks for it to build up the army. So that's why we recommend the vaccine, because you already have that protection. It's lasting, or I should say, it's waning around 6 months. So that's why they're recommending the booster especially against the variants. And that's what viruses do. They mutate. Lots and lots of senseless deaths. I tell people this all the time, but everything is okay until it's not. Everything is okay until it's not. This car I have, never had an issue with it in my life, right? It's a great car until it breaks down. And it will break down at some point. It won't last forever. I've had people say I've never had the flu ever in my life. I've never taken a flu vaccine a day in my life, and I've never had the flu. That's because your immune system has done its job. Okay? It's because you haven't come in contact with a gazillion influenza viruses, which is just chance. As you get older and your immune system can't fight the initial contact, yes, you will get sick from the flu. So that's why when age 65 or older, you should definitely get a flu shot, even if you've never had the flu, because you're going to get it. It's just the process of aging. It's the process of life. And with the coronavirus, I can't tell you to go out and take it. All I can tell you is that my eyes, my personal eyes, have seen devastation and death from what COVID-19 does. And many of those deaths could have been prevented with the vaccine. It's too late once you get COVID-19 to ask about getting the vaccine. It's too late. Maybe you'll only get infected with a few and you'll survive it. Maybe you won't even go to the hospital and you can go around and brag to all your friends. Hey, I had COVID-19 and I'm fine. And maybe a few months from now you might come in contact with somebody who has 1 million, and then you'll be on a ventilator. Or maybe you'll say, ventilators kill people. I hear that all the time. They just put people on ventilators when they're so miserable that they can't breathe anymore. Most patients want the ventilator. No one wants a ventilator until they do. That's life, folks. So anyway, I've taken up enough of your time. I hope you found today to be helpful.